This is somewhat of a tutorial about putting these Project Mu handbrake shoes into a Z30 soarer, or I guess SC, whatever. Two like that and just yeah, so that's ready. Yeah, it's just the same. Cut those out with this. Should be replaced. Already done the other side and it was sort of annoying, so I thought I'd film it because I kind of know how to do it now. Anyway, you can get all this bit from the manual. I've got like the coilovers and stuff taken out, that's unrelated. So unbolt this and just hang it up somewhere, and then draw a paint marker that goes on that thing and that thing. Put these match marks on. I read the manual again. I think the match marks are about measuring run out, which like I'm not measuring anything and until it's going back on, so maybe that shit doesn't matter at all. But now you take this off, which you know, it might need some persuading, I suppose, but it should just be the handbrake itself that's holding it in. So as long as the handbrake's disengaged, you should be able to. Mine didn't really want to come off that good, but it's like studs were hard up against the slots in it and it wouldn't rotate, so I just sort of tapped it around a bit. It's free now though, so you can sort of pull the whole thing off and see the hell you have to deal with. Just go. Tip the cancer on the ground. And yeah, surprise, you have a drum brake. The shittest thing ever. I'm just gonna take these shoes out. These ones aren't like worn, but like they're, I don't know, sort of obviously weren't bedding or something, because they never really had a working handbrake on this car. And yeah, I don't know. Also, I just want the other cool ones. But the removal process for this is all in the service manual. But you know, you take a photo of it right now before it's in 1,000 bits, and then you pull off these stupid strings. Then I think you pull off these ones next, and these are the hateful ones that the reason that I'm bothering to make any video, because I had a lot of trouble getting these back in. And we have a look at it now while it's out. I mean, while it's still in, I suppose. It's like, it's a backing plate, and it's a little spring, and it's a front plate that goes on and twists so it can't fly off, and then it's a pin. I don't know if I'll be able to see it, but whatever. There's a back of a pin there somewhere. You gotta sort of sandwich all that together while holding the brake shoe in, which is not really a extremely friendly one-man job, but I think I have a way to do it.
Shoe return springs
out first, which are these ones. They just go. I see when I put it together, but they're just fucking boing everywhere. So you just close your eyes and hold them with something. That one. And then it's a bit dark. There's a little slot in the shoe that they slide into. It's pretty. There's only really one spot it can go. Oh, there's a fucking adjuster thing between them. Alright, so that's what a
shoe return
spring looks like. I'm just going to put that in the rapidly growing pile of rubbish you'll accumulate. Then there's a little, I think this is a, I don't know, it's a something. I can't point, but there's a rod going from the rear to the front with a spring on one side of it. Fucking shitty line. Yeah, so that spring points to the front. You just take that out. It's you can separate the shoes now that you haven't got spring on it, so that just comes out. Just do it like that. It'll fit. Yeah. My spring fell in there somewhere, but it goes on that way. And then you have to take this like fucking. These are the stupidest bits. Which I mean, it's the same as old drum brakes. They're, I don't know, whatever they call it. It looks like a valve spring to me, but you've got to push that front plate in and then spin it. They're not that hard to take out, they're just pretty hard to put in. So you look at it real carefully right now, you go, then you push that, really hold the torch, you push that bit in and then spin it, because it's like if you were to rotate that 90 degrees, then it would be able to fly off the pin and shoot you. So you do that. But, you can try and figure out a way to hold the back of the pin to stop it spinning, or you can just like get some, especially on the front one, it's not too bad. You can somewhat, I'll move the camera in a second. You can somewhat reach a set of pliers in. Fucking torches never work. It's a bit hard to see, but like the pin that runs off is just going straight back. So if you just finagle some stupid pliers in there so you can hold the shank of the pin, like not too hard, it just stops it spinning enough that you can pull this off. You push that in, you spin the cap. It's part of the way there. There we go. Okay. Okay, there's a part 1 and 2, so that's just the little spring cap that sits on top of the spring, and then the little slot is indexed, I guess 90 degrees out from the pin so it can't fly off. Add that to the pile of bullshit and get this one out. It's the same deal, that's just the base of it. It's just like a spring perch. Yeah. Like a Povo divorce spring perch. The blue one goes at the front. I presume they're a slightly different rate spring or something, but the blue goes to the front of the car. It's in the manual, just download it. It's on the Facebook group. Guess not. Whatever. Your shoe should almost be free if you haven't jammed a set of pliers on them. There we go. Ugh. Probably not very good for you, that stuff. Okay, so the front shoe is like kind of free now. I forget what it's called. There's a spring that holds the two shoes together here. It's the something spring. It's not a real scary one. That fell off my top bit before. Don't worry about that. The hold them together, like that's the adjuster. Just imagine this shoe is up. The spring runs like behind it. I don't know, I've had a couple of these, and a lot of these springs have been running in front or like crossing under it and stuff, but the manual says the spring runs on the back of this thing. And I'm guessing the reason a lot of them seem to be different is because you can't get that spring in if you've already fit the adjuster. So you have to fit that first, then the adjuster. At least that is what the manual says. There must be a better way. Maybe I'll just pull. Yeah, there is be a better way. Yeah, there we go. So, that adjuster can come out. That's like the thing that you actually adjust. So it's threaded. The threaded side goes to the back of the car. How do I... back of the car. And then this bit just spins freely. Yeah. Add this shit to the pile. You fucking... Alright. That's a okay. That's a front shoe. It's weird friction material on this. Like, I don't know why mine's feels pretty glazed. The rear one is kind of the same, but it's got the handbrake cable on it. The pin for like the valve spring at the rear one's it's got this like offset in it, so it looks a bit different, but it's the same thing. It is regular noodle nose. This one, I'm just holding it like this. Sorry, I know I can't hold the torch. I'm gonna fucking watch this anyway, who cares? Alright, remember, hold that one and then just do the same thing. The back one's way funnier to reach though, because the head of the retainer of the fucking valve spring or whatever is much more hidden behind this hub. So you can sort of pull the shoe out as much as you can to expose it a bit more. Got it. Okay. Same bullshit. Yeah. Hat, spring, or whatever. Upper and lower perch. I don't know why all these have red paint on them. Like, it's not like that had to be indexed. Maybe that's from factory. Maybe they're factory handbrake shoes and that's why they have no friction on them at all. Anyway, add it to the pile. It's the rear shoe has the cable on it now. And this fucking levery bullshit, which is a whole schmozzle. It's a fucking mission though. Because I'm weak, I use pliers on the other one, but it doesn't feel like it's very good for the cable. Yeah, alright, maybe I'm being dramatic. That wasn't as bad as I remembered. Anyway, okay, so this is the rear shoe that has this fucking gabagool on it. Which I guess, you know, I suppose if it's sitting that way, and then the handbrake cable connects there, so how does that work? Well, just forces that pad out. I mean, I don't know by what mechanism that forces this pad into contact. I guess something. So this is the rear shoe. This thing exposes the next issue with the Project Mu setup. Alright, here's the bullshit assembly thus far. These are the shoes that come out. That's the rear one because it's got the actuating cable on it, which is itself a bit of a problem because this is the one that I've already done from the other side. That's pretty much how it goes together. It's just a pressed in sort of pivoty thing with a slot in it that is putting this arm on it, and then it's retained by, I forget what they call that. Maybe it might just be called a C-clip, but it's, you know, I don't have any other C-clips that look like that myself. And you're not supposed to reuse that, and it's very hard to take off. But we're going to reuse it. And I guess if you suddenly don't have a handbrake, that could be why. Where the plot thickens a little bit, I suppose, is you know, okay, so these are both rear shoes. It's a left and a right rear shoe. They look pretty similar, but the fucking stud thing is not the same length. Like, I did measure them, but that press-in stud on the Project Mu thing is not the same length as a stock one. If you go and read the autistic Toyota manual, there's actually a shim to adjust so what you get your fucking feeler gauges out and you feeler gauge this, and if it's outside of insert spec here, I don't know, could have been 40, you're supposed to replace the shim on it, which is like, okay. So I think what it's trying to say is that this arm can't have a bunch of, like, a heap of slop against the actual shoe. Like, if there was a shitload of clearance between the shoe and the arm on this side, amplified over a big ass lever like this, it would probably be a shitload of slop. But because these are the wrong fucking height, you have to do some things which I'm not sure if you're supposed to do or not. But regardless, we're doing them. So the next step is to disassemble this thing. And if you look in the manual, it just says to remove the C-clip or whatever it calls it, thingo, which is, yeah, it's riding in that groove. It's stopping the lever popping out. But these are like, I don't know what tool you're supposed to remove those with, but they're pretty, like, it's a fair bit of steel and you've just pretty much got to bend it out of the way. So I'm using a chisel and then reusing it. And you can't get it off with circlip pliers or anything. So an way to get it off, probably not a very good way, just a persuasion chisel, and then just between, fuck, I shouldn't have left that outside, just between there, and if you just tap it, it will sort of deform the clip open. That's like phase A. You chisel it open a little bit. It should spin pretty freely now because it's starting to walk out of its little groove that it sits in, but by this point the chisel will start hitting the fucking doodad, so you got to switch to a bigger chisel and just go careful. Once it's almost out, you switch to the special service tool, piece of steel or whatever, big punch would work, and just across, but it really is just deforming the clip. Like, it's not gonna, they don't really seem to spring back. They're sort of, I don't really know how you get them on because they haven't got much spring in them. Anyway, you just keep doing it until it's done. Oh yeah, I forgot. You can't even get it with the special service tool because it bottoms out too. So like stage 10, by this point you should really be questioning what you're doing. Stage 10 is an escalating series of twisting motions. Of course, this tool that I've never used for anything else, the miniature pry bar. I think this is chambered to get this out. You're a fucking idiot if you follow this instruction. Come on. Gotcha. Yeah, okay. And then you definitely don't reuse this thing, especially after what you just did to it. So there's your army fucking thing. Probably should have measured the clearance of it, but I measured the other one. It's tight. Okay. That goes there. There's your shim. And the shim is taking up, it's adjusting the clearance between the base of that and where this retaining slot is. So it's it's a bit tricky when the studs are different size. The pertinent measurement that you're actually shimming is what's the best way to get it from here? It's the top of the retaining ring, not the bottom. It's the top that holds it. Dickhead. I don't really know if that was very accurate. I usually aren't when I do it. 11.55 to the top of the retaining slot. And this one is 10.6, or maybe 10.55 as well. I'm not very good at measuring, somewhere in there. So you pretty much just need about an extra millimeter of shim. So you're not gonna like this. I didn't very much like it either. You go to here, you open this one, you go and I'm pretty sure you take this one out, which is a washer. So it wants to be between well, nothing and 0.35 millimeter clearance between the Project Mu color and the arm that swings out, so it doesn't develop too much of that, I suppose. You can't really measure it until you put this clip in, which is like a massive fuck around. I feel like this is potentially ballpark. I was happy enough with the other one to put it on. What that means is entirely dependent on if you know me or not. But they're pretty hard to reassemble as well, because it needs to go into the slot. So you sort of have to have the clip opened up, and if you were reusing it, which you're not, you have to have the clip opened up enough that it will get into the slot, and then kind of pinch it back closed once it's where you want it to be. You get it seated, you get your performance shim kind of right, you squeeze or tap that in. You are having to overcome a little bit of steel springiness. You do it without bending it, and you do it without touching the friction material, and then you squeeze it more closed once it's in. So I'm not going to get that without a tool. Give that the tiniest little tap just to get it in. You can't really close the ring up and then tap it on because you have to hit it quite hard, and yeah, there's probably a way to hold this that lets you hit it, but it's all friction material, and you don't want to clamp it too much that way, and I don't know, you can't really smack it. I actually didn't like that washer in the end. I went back and got one that was 1.7 millimeters. Yeah, alright, so the reasons why you're not supposed to reuse these clips are probably fairly apparent. But yeah, larger washer to take up the space between thingy and top of thingy. Get the clip in the slot. It moves. Will it fly off? It's probably more likely to than it was before I touched it. Yeah, we'll just see what happens. I think you measure the clearance here. It articulates with 0.15 millimeters of clearance in it. 0.35 upper end of the clearance, upper end of the clearance doesn't want to go in even if I let it do it, so it's adjusted, I suppose. It's just, it would be much nicer with a new clip that I didn't have to rebend and stuff. I suppose I'll report back. Now to reassemble this bullshit, which is the worst thing ever. These are the stupid pins, which you can touch from the back. They're just almost look like a nail, really. The one on this side, which is dark, is this offset thing, like that. So it only really goes in one way, and it's because the levery arm thing that we just put together has to fit there. But they're really hard to hold. So this is the only part which is not just me repeating the service manual and skipping bits that are too annoying for me. The basic order of proceedings is the shoe with the arm is going at the back, and it's got this bit goes at the top, so it sits like this. You gotta connect the handbrake cable first, or it's fucking impossible. Which you do by doing, and I guess don't get poo all over the friction material if you can, but it's fucking impossible. You're also supposed to put grease somewhere on this backing plate, I guess where it rubs, but I don't see a reality where that doesn't get grease over your friction material, because it's impossible not to drop everything. So there wasn't any grease in it when I took it out. I'm not putting any in. I don't know, see what happens. And hopefully we can do it by doing it. Yes, we can. Okay. So at this point we're going off script because the manual just says put it in, and it's fucking impossible. The central challenge, I suppose. The rear pin's a lot harder. The central challenge is that it's pretty hard to compress those springs enough to get them clear of this little, so they've got to clear that and then be clocked 90 degrees. It's pretty hard to get them clear of that without pushing this pin back that way, which doesn't give you enough. No, you see what I mean when I try and do it. But a F-clamp is what seems to work, and a spring compressor. Air quotes around spring compressor. We just go like scary Facebook mechanic spring compressor on these. I know it seems dumb, but it's really a lot easier to get them in this way. It's just two Povo little zip ties. So it's just sort of two like that, and just something like that. Then just get those out of the way. Okay, so that's ready. A little ball of mini death. We need technology, and just forget about the actual shoe for a sec. There. Yeah, so if you try to compress that spring without holding that thing, it will either push backwards like that and you won't be able to compress the spring far enough, or more annoyingly, it will just spin when you try to clock the hat, and then you won't be able to get the hat locked onto it. So you just get an F-clamp between here over the head of that. You'll need to sort of clamp it in the spot where it wants to be, which is roughly there, but just I'm gonna fiddle with it. Like there's one spot where it protrudes out the most, and that's where it needs to be. So that little slot there has to go over the pin, pretty much over right where the pin just starts making that I don't know, 80-degree bend or whatever it is. It's got to, but this has got to sit as far back as it can, and it's got to kind of be in place where it needs to be. So there's a lot of shit moving around at once. And then you put those hateful plates on. So he's over the pin. Come on, light. He's over the pin as far, like the shoe is as far into the car as it can go. Alright. If it would stay exactly there, then the process would proceed, but it won't, it'll move. And you got this compressed spring. And at this point, you do what the manual said, which is put it in by hopefully squeezing it in like this and not having the pin rotate on you because you've clamped the cup. I think I'll get it this time. Over. And I did it. There we go. Alright. Yeah. Okay. If you've ever done this before, you probably know how good that feels. Okay, so it's in. So we don't have to... That F-clamp is now optional. Especially in that partially compressed state. I think it's still pretty possible for this to kind of fall apart. You just cut those out with this. You just pull the tails of them out with a needle nose, but do that last when sort of like, because once you get the other big fucking, once you get this entire box of fucking springs in, then pull those out, because I don't really want to, you know, I think it's still possible for this shoe to escape how it is right now, so I don't really want to pull on it. But it's got spring pressure on it because the zip ties are cut, so that one is nominally in. Now you can do the rest of the bit. The rest of it's just what the manual says. Like that was the hardest one. But I do use the same F-clamp zip tie trick for this one because they are still pretty annoying to get in. There is of course this specific drum brake tool for grabbing that hat and doing exactly what we just did, but it doesn't fit. At least this one doesn't fit, and neither does the other one I've seen. So, I don't know. When I say it doesn't fit, it's because there's no method that you can actually get on that. It doesn't fit. That tab wasn't there, you might kind of get on it, but it is. Okay, so the bottom spring goes on next, which clamps these two to each other. This is where, like, when I've taken soarer handbrakes apart thus far, I have seen discrepancies. So that's gonna go in that way. So if you look at the bottom, there's one little triangle that on the outside and one little triangle. Well, there's the same one on the inside. The spring, I forget what the bottom one's called, the something spring. I think it's supposed to run behind that. I don't know if it makes much of a difference, but the manual says it is. And I've seen some of them that are crossed over like that for some reason. I don't know, but I also saw that on a car where the handbrake didn't work, so you just connect it to that one, and then to this one. They're just, yeah, there's not really anything fancy about them. This one's just a spring. It's not too bad, and everything kind of can move right now. But this is where if I'd had grease on it, I'd be just fucking getting it all over everything. So it's going to have to live without it. Okay, so now the two brake shoes are kind of, you know, at least nominally attached to each other without the adjuster thus far. No adjuster yet. We'll do that. Well, now. Also, I'm pretty sure you should probably grease the inside of this, because if this doesn't spin, it doesn't, well, you know, it's all got to move pretty freely to adjust against the spring pressure of all this rubbish. So I'll just double check which way it's supposed to face. Okay, yes, thread faces the back of the car. And you are supposed to put grease on it. It, well, I showed it before, but it goes on the, can't see my finger, these grooves here. But the only thing holding these two pads together is that little tension spring thing. So you just force it apart. It's not that bad. So do this without touching the material. You get threaded side back. It goes in there, and then you're touching the material. Fucking just imagine this with grease all over the back of it. How the fuck do you do that? Anyway, good work. And that's got to go spin cunt like that. Oh, don't do that. Put your finger close to there, but not in it. Anyway, fucking springs. The tension spring on behind it is in. So, hey, yeah, none of that. Then this guy needs to sit on his pin. Oop. Yeah, it's just the same as the other side. Okay, spring compressed. Base plate with protrusion facing outwards. Like that. But you can sort of see this one. Like it's a little bit more like a regular drum brake than it's a bit more like an Excel one or something. So I'm sure the two people that will ever watch this are also familiar with Excels. Naturally, everyone should be. Alright, kind of in. And just. Got it. Moody shadows. Yeah, like that. Don't let it fall off the side of the. The only thing that can fail here is that it goes that way, because it can slip off the sort of slot that it's holding. The slot that's sandwiching the shoe in. So that's the only failure condition here. So just don't. Yeah. So there's only there's two top springs in this thing. You'll see. There's only one spot this can go in at the top. It faces that way because it's the profile of it. It's just you just put it in somehow. I don't know. Fuck around. And it's torch. It's only in loose, but once you put those top springs in, it'll sort of smack it together. The top springs are just annoying springs that you've got to pull on real hard. There's a slot. They go in here. So they can only go one way. Just stretch them on. Try not to delete your fingers. They're pretty tight. They just kind of overlap each other on this stud. Yeah. Oh, there's a bit of spring in them though. It's pretty funny that these are not called the tension spring. This isn't tension on a spring. I'm not sure what that concept means. Get the fucking in. That should no longer be capable of springing apart and undoing all your progress. So you just fish the little zip ties out now. This shouldn't be too hard. Just grab them and pull them. There we go. You should just be able to spin these now. That's better. Then, if we ignore that crazy C-clip washer business, that should be replaced handbrake shoes on a Z30. You gotta do all this adjusting bullshit now, but it's not that bad. Well, I'll do it anyway. This goes back on now. It's supposed to hold it flush with some lug nuts. Trust me, you can see the adjuster wheel in there and you just push it into the car. until you can't spin the wheel, and then you turn it the other way 8 steps. And I bet it won't be adjusted right, but it's what the manual says. Yeah, right, so I just wound that in until I can't turn anymore. I'm just gonna back it off 8. But what I'm also gonna do is just see if it has the same resistance as the other side, because if you just get them roughly the same. I don't know how to define a click though. I guess that's one. Yeah, almost done now. Just put the brake caliper back on. Just 2 bolts, 104 Newton. Read the manual, otherwise you'll die. It's brakes. It's important. And then I think you gotta go bed it in, but I'm not doing that today because my car's in a million bits.